Smart means business. That's head into our discussion of the day. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. Now, towards a better Kampala and creating a better way forward for the development of the city and the redevelopment of the city, Kampala City Council Authority has always been laying on board platforms and also laying on board new situations to actually give room for the redevelopment of the city as well. Now, the State Minister for Kampala Capital City and that is and the Metropolitan Affairs, that is Bena Namugwanya, presented the achievements of Kampala City Council Authority between 2016 and 2021 during the NRM Manifesto Week. That was at the Prime Minister's office way back in May. And she was actually giving out the room where Kampala City Council was actually achieved, a number of which are the achievements that have actually seen redevelopments in the town, creating of lanes, and as well as this particular road lanes that you've seen in Kampala, and also giving room for a number of traders to carry out businesses softly and quite smoothly as well. Now, in 2016, the ruling NRM Party manifesto, the 23 presidential directives strategy, which aimed at job creation, easing, and Uganda Society for Low-Income Society and Competitive Income Country, that is through the Kampala City Council Authority, clearly gave room in terms of how the development of the city and the greater Kampala, as well as the local community, could clearly see that. And in this particular situation, in our topic today, we're talking of the impact of Kcca on the renovations in Kampala. How far has Kcca actually gone to see that we have some developments in Kampala and in its neighboring areas in that regard? Because remember, the City Council, that is the Kampala Capital City Council Authority, is one of those sectors in the government that clearly gives room of forwardness in regards to development in the country that are coming up. We even had a story that was running with the city vendors that the Kcca officials were clearly telling them off the streets or the roadsides in Chikubo, in the different Chikubo lanes, to clearly give a smooth running of the businesses in downtown, that is in Chikubo area, the Chikubo or the city district, that is the Chikubo district in Kampala Center, and some of which have actually been one of the integrations in terms of KCC's plans to make sure that the city is actually developing and seeing that as well as that. Now, looking at some of those particular developments, we also take a look at what Kcca has done in terms of the redevelopment of the tax park. That is the redeveloping of the old tax park, which was actually set to be reopened in May. However, according to some of the new guidelines from Kcca, which saw that they had to make sure that there are toilets that are being developed over there in the that tax park that was the old tax park initially. So I think it will now be called the new old tax park or the new tax park in that perspective, in that regard. Now, the old tax park, which was set to be reopened on May, is not yet opened as of now, but those are some of the renovations that Kcca has actually been doing in terms of that. In fact, also to mention last year in that regards, in terms of making sure there is order in the city in Uganda, that is in Kampala, Kcca laid on board new travel routes for the taxis that are getting out of town and also those that are actually getting into Kampala. That was in a way of changing the routes for, that is for the people, not only in the people who are using the Entebbe Road routes differently, and also then other cars that are the vehicles that are heading to Zambia in those regards and that. So those are some of the things that Kampala City Council has actually been doing so much in that regard to make sure that they improve the city and carry on renovations as well. Now, on May 7th, 2020, Kcca embarked on the works that involved drainage improvements, parking area, and embankment of construction, as well as the works that involved situations in regards to that. However, the reopening was rechanged, and most of the people looked at it in a way that Kcca will actually see that. And wetutunuulira ne mu nsonga ezo osobola otunuulira mu nsonga eno nti abasuubuzi ba Kampala City Council Authority wewe njagala oteeka mu nsonga eno okusinziira ku gyenvudde wa Kcca okuva mu 2016 nga President Museveni ayogera ku nsonga y'okuwa development mu city oba mu kibuga Kampala. Ya ebintu ebimu ku ebyo Kampala City Council Authority byateekawo ku meeza okulaba nga developing ekibuga kye Kampala mwalimu okulaba nti enguudo zino oba ziyite pathways, enguudo zino naddala abantu kwe batambulira zirongoosebwa, obuguudo obwo butonotono zirongoosebwa, basisaamu katama ka kalungi. Ne tutunuulira ne tulaba nti Kcca yagenda netunuulira ku nsonga nti enguudo n'enguudo n'enkuubo oba ziyite enkuubo, abasuubuzi bwe bayisa business zaabwe oba ababooda n'abagenda mu kikuubo bagenda olaba nti mu kikuubo nti ebintu bino babigoberera in terms of the businesses in kikuubo zitambula mu mirembe nga tewali butabanguko oba tewali makubo mabi oba engeri gye kiri nti lifting away the overcrowding. And joining me on this particular set nina Mwami Daniel Nwabine, spokesperson wa Kampala City Council Authority, nga agenda to taking through this particular incidents in regards to the impact of reconstruction in Kampala by KCCFC, that is rather by Kcca. Atuwulire ne ku nsonga ezaba vendors bana abali mu kikuubo ku nsonga eyo awamu n'ensonga endala ne plans Kcca ezeyina okusinziira to redevelop and the developments that are coming up in regards to that issue in Kcca. And joining me is Mr. Daniel Nwabine. Mr. Daniel, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
On SMB?
Come again. I'm trying to pick you up.
Thank you for joining us here on SMB as we head into our discussion of the day.
Thank you. Pleasure being here. A huge
pleasure to actually be hosting you on this particular segment. I was actually here giving some of the few developments that Kcca has actually come up with in terms of making sure that the city is in shape for the businesses to carry on, and one of which I've actually noticed the new renovations and reconstructions of different buildings, and I want you to take us from there in regards to the plans that Kcca lays on board in terms of the buildings that are being set up in Kampala.
Well, there is a process that has to be followed for one to commence any construction within the city. And this starts with the physical planning committee. It goes on to the building control committee, and then permission is granted to start any development. But even amidst the development, there are several inspection criteria that are followed. And we do this all through until when the building is complete and an occupation permit is issued. Now, this is the ideal, and what we hope every citizen that wishes to develop has to comply with. However, there are some challenges along the way. We have those that fully comply and those that may go haywire and may not comply, and this is probably one of the reasons why we have had the collapses that have been there, a few collapses that have been there in the city.
Mr. Daniel Nwabine, if you can help us and decrease on the volume of the TV set. I don't know whether it's a TV or any speaker that is around you, so that we can clearly get you. Now, meanwhile, I want to also pose a question here in terms of the buildings that are set up in Kcca's perimeters. Who is to blame here? Should we blame the builders, the engineers, or Kcca for not following up on such cases when you've actually mentioned about the collapsing buildings in Kampala?
Well, it gets to a point when it's not about the blame, but the right thing that ought to be done. We have a process in place, and on our side, we follow it to the letter. However, we have errant developers who, in the cover of night, continue with the developments that we categorize as illegal. If you look at all the collapses that have taken place, it is either in the middle of the night or over the weekends or under certain peculiar circumstances. Now, whereas we inspect, our inspectors may not be there all through the night. Yet some developers, even when they are stopped from going ahead, they continue to do the developments in the cover of night. And when such fatalities come out is when we also get to that particular scene. But maybe we need to increase the monitoring, and that calls for more resources, human resource, to monitor day and night, weekday or weekend, such that we are always there at each and every construction site. But we believe that if there is a general discipline that is accorded by the developers, then we shall be able to curb down any of these fatalities arising out of building collapses.
You did mention about you didn't mention of how Kcca can look into that and see that you supervise these incidents. But one would want to understand, do you have systems on how you supervise the buildings, and how genuine do they use these particular materials, like if at all at this particular building sites? Or has Kcca set up a way to see that you monitor and supervise the ongoing of the constructions in the town?
Yes, we do. We have human resource systems. We have inspectors that go down to these buildings and actually do inspections. If you look at, for example, last evening's structure, we had stopped this construction site, but we later came to learn that these developments are going on deep in the night.
That particular one, let's step into the Kcca building that actually collapsed. That was during Sunday afternoon. I want you to, was Kcca did you have a plan of that particular building? Did you know that the construction was actually taking place in that particular area in Kcca?
We learned about the construction in that particular area. Our inspectors went there and stopped the construction, and the proprietors wanted to or wished to submit their plans for approval. We went ahead and confiscated their building, their construction equipment, and they had actually stopped, only to find later that they continued legally with the construction. Now, this is an appeal to even the developers themselves. Stopping you from constructing is actually saving you. It is for, first, primarily the good of the people of Kampala, but also for your own good as a developer. Imagine how many resources were lost in that building collapse, simply because a citizen or a developer was not patient enough, was not compliant enough, was not law-abiding enough to follow a notice that had been issued by the authority. Now, this has cost us lives in the city. It has cost us resources. It has cost us man-hours. We have destroyed the road that was recently reconstructed simply because we needed to save lives. Now, this is unacceptable. And if there is any issue or any lapse, be it on our side as the authority, we shall get to the bottom of it and apprehend those or punish those that have not done their job. But also the developers, have to be brought to book for flouting all regulations that are required in the construction industry.
Of how you're going to actually cap down these particular people and how KCC is going to be looking out for them, the developers and the owner of the building. But I want to understand, so what is the fate or what is the future of the constructors, actually the builders, the layman, or what we call the porters who are actually on the building? And which as Kcca, you as an organization of the government, is there anything that you can actually lay on board to help these particular people? Or is it up to the developer or the owner of the building?
The building regulations and the act itself, as well as the laws that govern the engagement of other human beings on a job, there are safety mechanisms or safety provisions that are provided for, and these ought to be followed to the letter. As Kcca, we intend to rigorously and more aggressively ensure that these are followed to the letter, and in this way we shall avoid unnecessary fatalities.
Nuabine, now away from the time in terms of away from the collapse of the building, I want to take you through the Kcca now, the Kcca district, that is the Kcca center in Kampala. I would want to understand Kcc is actually having moves to clearly sweep away the vendors off the verandas or off the streets from the Kcca. Now, which plans do you have for these ones? Because I clearly see and think it is actually a hard one in terms of the vendors that you are clearing off, and most of them actually, after sending them off today, they will return the following day. Which plans do you have for these vendors that you're taking off from the verandas?
We are actively identifying, and we have identified workspaces in the markets. So we have sufficient workspaces in the Usafi market. We have workspaces in Owino, and we appeal as well as ensure through enforcement that our comrades that are trading in the irregular places like these spaces, but also those who buy from them, are equally culpable. And we are going to continue with this enforcement. Now that we have identified the spaces for them, let all those that are trading on the streets go there. Once they're there, we shall establish whether the space is enough for them or it is not. But for those that also purchase from the street vendors, we shall also start apprehending them, and it will not be good.
The Kcca Center, and you're into Kcca and you're chasing them away from Kcca where they're actually earning money. Is this true or false?
Come again?
Some of the Kcca vendors are claiming that you're chasing them off the streets, and yet they have actually been there for some time, and to them their businesses are not illegal. It's not referred to as the streets. Those are some of the vendors downtown, and most of them are claiming you're chasing them and leaving the other people out of Kcca to operate business via the streets. Is it true or not?
Well, doing something wrong for 10 years or even 20 does not make it right. It is wrong to trade in the middle of the road. It is illegal to trade in the middle of the road. It is not just wrong before the law, but also for your own safety as a trader. The goods that you're trading may be trampled upon by the passers-by, then you will end up into a brawl. as you trade in the middle of the road, a vehicle may knock your goods as well as yourself, and you get injury. And there are particular places for trading and for walking and for driving. Why would you go in an area for a vehicle to be driven or for people to walk and establish it into a shop? What any responsible authority or urban administration will do is to relocate you, and if you don't want to leave, we use that word enforcement to ensure that you're out of that space. So it is our duty to ensure trade order in the city, and while we are ensuring that trade order in the city, some of us have to make way and go to the right places where we have to be trading.
Now here's the case. We have traders, or we have these vendors who have actually been under the lockdown, and I must agree, or we must agree, that most of them have not been working. Like if we had to talk into the humanity aspect. Now most of them are claiming they have actually been under lockdown, and it's when they have started resuming into business to clearly see that they earn something, regardless of the fact that you did mention that it is wrong for them to trade via the streets. But the other continuing stories that are coming up is that when the goods for these vendors are taken, sometimes they are not given back, or in most cases, they are not given back to the traders or to these roadside vendors. The question is, where do the Kcca officials take these products?
Well, there is a process for reaccessing evidence as well as dealing with evidence. Now, most of these goods that are obtained from the streets, especially when the vendor has when he has been caught in the act of an illegality, these are exhibits. And there's a process of dealing with exhibits, whether they be returned to the offender retained for disposal by the court. Now, all these are matters of law, and they are dealt with as such.
All right, now, Mr. Nwabine, I'd want also to ask, because now this is in two terms of in regards to plans for that KCC has. I want to understand first, do you think by clearing the streets off, because it is always a plan that by clearing the streets, the vendors off the streets, is it going to give you a clear picture of the developments for the city as you want them?
First of all, as an individual, would you like a chapati maker at the gate of Bank of Uganda? Is it pleasurable for you? Huh? Is it?
No, it isn't, and I think maybe that is a good move for it. To me, it isn't. I just want to understand.
Everybody in this country and in this city must enjoy the city. We must have a city that is representative. If our walkways are turned into mosques, our citizens shall have nowhere to walk. If our walkways are turned into kitchens, then the tarmac shall be destroyed by that fire and it will melt away and our roads will get bad. So we don't want such a situation. That is unpleasant for not just the elite, but also all other city users. So this is an appeal that should be also made by the fourth estate and yourself, such that whenever you come here on the news, appeal to our people not to get on the streets, not to trade on the streets. Imagine the food on the street, a mango on the street, as someone is walking, the dust is spilling onto the mango. That causes disease. So we should all come up in arms and
All right, and we see with Mr. Daniel Nwabine, the PR Kampala City Council Authority, clearly giving us the plans when it comes to what Kcca has in terms of making sure that developments in the city are followed, and in case, or what are we to expect from Kcca in regards to the different scenarios that are keeping, or the different cases that we definitely have in the city. Now, Mr. Daniel Nwabine, also something that I want to talk about here is the non-motorized transport in Kampala. I've been through the city throughout the weekend, and I've come to notice something, that there are some lanes or paths that were actually a lane for the non-motorized transport, maybe said the lanes for the people with disabilities, and let me say people, or for the passengers that have to actually pass through. I want to understand how far is KCC going to implement the use of these particular lanes, and how are you following up with this particular path as well?
One, we are sensitizing, but beyond sensitizing, we are going to aggressively enforce this to ensure the right thing is done in the right spaces and in the right place. We have the non-motorized route running from Namirembe Road to Room Street. There is no motorized vehicle or equipment that is supposed to be here. One, to ensure that there is no access to the shops and the business areas in this particular area, and reduce vehicular traffic and increase human traffic. If you look at this area 4 years ago, the area around Mini Price at the intersection of Urumo and Namirembe Road, it was swarmed and filled with vehicle traffic all over that place. It was almost impossible. But now we have more people that are in this area than vehicles. So this is a plus for us, and we believe that also the people within this area are getting more customers, are getting more business, simply because we put that non-motorized route, and people are accessing it much more than the jam that was created by vehicles.
Non-motorized, again, those particular routes. So are those the rightful path for the street vendors to actually carry out business in those particular ones? Because I've also noticed, away from the fact that motors are passing through, but also vendors are again encroaching into those particular paths.
You have stated it well. The question that you have stated is actually where you derive my answer. No, they shouldn't be there, and we shall ensure that they are not there.
Talk of the future of taxi drivers in Kampala. We've heard of regards to Kampala City Council Authority claiming that you're going to set up toilets for the tax park. That is the renovation of the old tax park that was already complete, but only awaiting for Kcca and the government to clear room for these particular taxi drivers to start operating in the particular tax park. But one would ask, when is this going to come to pass? Or when are these particular toilets going to be set up?
The old taxi park was having over 200,000 people that would traverse it on a daily. 200,000 people with the current improvement and mobility that would be 5 toilets, of which we have 3 for men and 2 for women. But it's not just the toilet that we're looking at in this area. All the people, the 200,000 people that go through here must be taken care of medically, because someone can have an accident. We have mothers who move in advanced stages of their pregnancies. We have people who fall sick or who are moving well sick. And these need to have an area where they can have first aid, the first response, to ensure that we save lives of all these number of people. So we need a clinic there. 200,000 people accessing that point have to be safe. So we need to have access, regulated accesses. We need a gate in that area, the tax park as it is. Anyone can enter from anywhere. Anyone can enter from anywhere. So we need a gate system. We need access control for both human beings and vehicles.
All right, that is Mr. Nuwawine Daniel, the PR, Kcca, Kampala City Council Authority, giving us some of the guidelines, more so for the people who are all the taxi operators in Kampala that are still waiting for the reopening of the tax park. Like I said, should we call it the new old tax park, or it is now the real new tax park in that particular aspect? But he has been mentioning about building of clinics. I don't know if I still have him on board. Mr. Daniel. I think we still have, we're trying to get back to Mr. Daniel, but I think the network is causing the problem, because I want to ask him something in regards to the time frame. I want to know the time frame in which this particular things are going to be laid on board, because if you tell us you're going to build a clinic, okay, we shall wait for the clinic to come on board. A lot of people are using it. We're clearly seeing that. And we still want to know, Bangachi, ebintu bino nga biwedde, toys, clinics, all those services that KCC wants to input in the tax park, when are they going to be set up, and why were they not considered with the other tax park over there? That is the new tax park. Mr. Daniel. Oh, I think we've lost him, and we shall definitely be getting to him within a week's time. He was not able to be with us here in studio, but we clearly had him via the Zoom here on Smart Means Business. And clearly, about that work on song is mnendala. Okuzimenyamenyamo okusinzira ku bye twogedde, Mwami Daniel Nuwabine ye PR omwogezi wa Kampala City Council Authority, ekitongole ekivunaanyizibwa ku biddukanyizibwa mu kibuga Kampala. Mu kibuga Kampala. Ekitongole kino kirina ebintu bingi byekibadde kikwasaganya okusinziira ku ngeri abasuubuzi gye bakwasibwamu, okusinziira ku ngeri ebintu gye bitambulamu mu kibuga. Mu bintu ebimu ku ebyo ebibadde bisinga okuluma Abannayuganda y'ensonga ya tax park enkadde. Mu mwaka guli Government yavaayo ne KCCA yavaayo ne guidelines okusinziira ku miwaatwa oba ngambe ebitundu routes ez'enjawulo emmotoka oba taxi we zirina oyita, tugambe ez'Entebbe Road. Kati nganze omuntu omu ava ku Entebbe Road. Edda Entebbe Road twali tulinnya okusinziira ng'olinnyira okuva mu paaka nga muyita wano ku Shoprite okudda ku Entebbe Road, naye kati baagenda ne balufuula one way nga luyingiza buyingiza motoka mu kibuga. Ze zimu ku ezo enkyukakyuka ze baateekawo mu kibuga. Ne bakwata tax park enkadde gye twali tumanyi nga old tax park ne bagigobamu amamotoka okusinziira nti okuva mu muggalo ogwasooka KCC embarked on making sure nti barenovatinga tax park eno. Kati era yemu kwezo kati ndoza yesanidde okuyitibwa new tax park mu ngeri ennyangu. Naye twali tusuubira nti tax park eno egenda kugulwa omwaka guno okusinziira naddala ng'omuggalo guweddewo naye KCCA yavaayo netegeeza nti waliwo ebintu bingi ebyetaagisa okukolebwa nga tebannaba kuggulwa. Engeri gyekiri tuli mu mbeera ya COVID-19, KCCA negamba nti nembeera sanitation yeetaagisibwa ddala okubeerawo, nti tetugenda kubanga tulwanisa COVID yekka, waliwo n'ebirwadde ebirala bye tulina olwanyisa. Negamba nti toilets oba zikabuyonjo za paaka eno mbi, teziri mu mbeera nnungi, conditions had to change. So KCCA neteekawo plan nti okuggulawo ekifo kino toyi zirina okuba nga zizimbiddwa. Ekyo ne tukivaako. Ne KCCA etaddewo n'obukwakuliza obulala nti walina obbaawo amalwaliro. Nga PR oba omwogezi wa KCCA waayogedde n'agamba nti w'otunuulira ku nsonga ey'okuba nti paaka eyo ebadde ediringa n'abantu abasoba mu 2,000 olunaku, waliwo ebirwadde bingi nnyo bye tusuubira obbaawo. Waliwo accident obugwawo, that clearly needs some first aid. Ne wabaawo omuntu ng'alina ebizibu bye ne bimutuukako, abakazi ab'embuto, nti omuntu olubuto olusobola omusimbira awo nga yeetaaga obuyambi, yensonga lwaki beetaaga clinic. So mu ndowooza yange ne ngamba kale clinic nayo arguments are clear enough, you could clearly tell nti clinic zeetaagibwa. Naye omuntu waba ayagala okumanya ebbanga ki lye tulina, kuba kati emyaka tukukuniriza kati tugenda myaka 2 tetunalabawo nkyukakyuka in regards to the business in the Kampala capital in terms of the old tax park. Kati abantu abasinga ba tax operators bakyewuunya, waliwo ensonga yonna KCCA gyegenda oteekawo okulaba nga abantu bano baddamu okukosa tax park, oba waliwo criteria endala ezigenda okulayingibwa on board okulaba nti before tax park eneguddwa, kale tugambe nti bino ebintu bwe binaba bituukiddwako before ng'omwaka tegunnaggwa. Saagala kirulinga out. I don't want to say tekisoboka, but I'll definitely say nti kyekigenda otuukawo nga tugambe biwedde ng'omwaka gwedde. Kibategeeza business zinaddamu okugirwa. N'ekirala taxi meke zinaaba zikkiriziddwa mu paaka eno, kuba okusinziira ku mateeka amapya agajja ku paaka eno, nsuubira okulaba nti amateeka mangi gajja. Then ne kano akalala kano kagenda eri abasuubuzi bw'oba omanyi nti okolera ku streets oba ku bubalaza obw'ebizimbe oba za arcade mu kibuga. KCCA egamba bwe muli mu business tekitegeeza nti baba tebannaba kujja bakolamu karani awo okutwala bintu byammwe, tekitegeeza mbu you're operating legally. It does not mean that your businesses or your business entities actually operating in a legal manner. Nedda kitegeeza nti bwe banatandika obbanoonya mujja mmanya nti you're running illegal businesses or the way you're running your business is illegal, nti okusinziira ku mbeera eriwo nti obubalaza buno bulinga bu pathways connecting muntu ku bizimbe oba ku arcade, mulina okuba nga mulina we operating la business. That is according to KCCA. Nti against our clear guidance n'agamba nti ffenna twagala okulaba emidaala gya chapati, naye waliwo ebifo okusinziira ku kibuga ekiri organize emidaala tegijja saanibwa kubeera kumpi na Bank of Uganda oba offices ez'enjawulo. So n'agenda n'ayogera n'agamba nti ba vendors bano babaguliddewo waliwo party mu Usafi market we babateeka, naye okusinziira ku bintu byempulira okusinziira ku bantu abakola mu Usafi bagamba nti tewali kata, there is no market for their products, nti abantu balaba Usafi waliyo already there is a park in Usafi, nti omuntu ajja mu Usafi ayita mu Buyisi kugenda mu kibuga, bamanyi business eri mu kibuga. Ate abantu abamu kakivula ba operatingira ku city ku sidelines ezo tuyite verandas oba the different pathways. Now here the other thing that I've actually picked out from this is the non-motorized areas or the non-motorized transport. Waliwo bu pathways obuli okumpi ne Nakivuba, obuli kumpi Nakivubaawo, obuli kumpi ne New Tax Park, obufo bateekawo okulaba nti abantu ekisokera ddala abantu abaliko obulemu bayitira ekirala abantu abatambuza ebigere kuba balina otambulira, ate abantu abamutandisa oteekamu business nti omuntu waba atambula mu kibuga ogenda olaba nti ate ogenda kulinnya ku kintu kya muntu, olutalo ne lutandika ng'omuntu agamba yeggwe lwaki onninnyira ku bintu byange. Bibimu ku ebyo ebintu ebiri awo, nti okulaba nti KCCA eyagala ku redeveloping ekibuga, ebintu bingi byetaagisa okuteekebwa mu nteeko, naye obuzibu obuliwo, ebizibu byesanze bye byabasuubuzi abali mu kibuga. Abamu baclaiminga nti bava mu COVID, bava mu muggalo beetaaga okulwaninga business. Abamu kikubo bagamba awe bali baluddewo, ate si musango nti lwaki KCCA ebayingirira mu business zaabwe ate nga nabo baagala yingiza kuyingiza kasimbi kwebezaawo mu ngeri eyo era ogenda okirabanga wabatunira in their own perspective they might be right or in the other way, but in terms of the guidelines of the city Kcca yegamba waayi nedda si kituufu era tugenda kujjanga buli nnaku nga tubajjawo olw'ensonga nti we muli temuliwo mu butuufu bwamu, mulina ovaawo business zitandika prevailinga oba mulina ovaawo abantu abalala batambuze bulungi business kubanga ebiseera ebisinga akakubagano mu kibuga kajja olw'ensonga there is a lot of overcrowding in the city which has actually created no room for developments in that regard. Ate mu nsonga ze zimu era ogenda olabanga buli kimu tugenda Kcca buli kyegezaako okugira enkeera wali wagezaako kijjawo yensonga yemu mwamini wabine gyayogeddeko ku nsonga y'aba contractors b'ebizimbe oba ba engineer ab'enjawulo abakwasibwa ensonga z'okuzimba mu kibuga ebintu ebimu nti ekizimbe ekyagudde Kcca yagenda n'ekimonitoringa era n'estoppinga emirimu gy'okukizimba naye ate Kcca is surprise ne ku surprise y'abantu abalala nti ekizimbe kyabadde kikyagenda maaso nti n'ekiro they were continuing to actually work onto that building lwakubeera nange ndaba there is a very big challenge there. The question is Kcca omuntu aba azimba ekiro fena tumanyi there is curfew time, right? One would ask how come that people are building in the night and no one is supervising them? So that means there is someone who is supposed to be supervising in the night to clearly see kino ekizimbe tekitambula mu nteeko. So byemu kwebyo ebibuuzo ebyewuniza era agenze n'agamba nti nnyini kizimbe yavunaanyizibwa kati okusooka ku bintu ku bulamu bw'abantu abakoseddwa abantu abamu balwadde bali mu malwaliro, they are nursing wounds, people did lose their lives, a number breadwinners if I am to put it in that way, abantu abamu bafiiriddwa, abantu abamu abadde baparkinze ebintu bya businesses ezabadde okumpi n'ekizimbe ezakozeseddwa nnyingi gataka abamamotoka abadde baparkinze bagamba nti nabo nnyini kizimbe alina okubayirira olw'ensonga nti ekizimbe kye kyagudde nekigwira emmotoka zaabwe nti ate kati otunuulira nti plans ezo Kcca yali ezigudde. The owner of this particular building is quite in big trouble, and as well as the developers, those are the engineers and the architects that were behind this particular project over there in Kcca in Kampala. All right, now Smart Means Business as of now is taking a nap, or should I say we're going in for a rest till the next day. But of now, if I am to leave you, nine bintu bingi nnyo nganza omu byenetegereza mu ggwanga nti ebiseera ebisinga amateeka gateekebwawo okutuyamba nti in most cases we are tunyigirizibwa, we become victims of these particular rules or laws that are put on board. Now if you were to put and reconsider bituyambanga ffe okulaba nga ekibuga kivunaanyizibwa kati eri yenna gwe kikwatibwako ndowooza obuvunaanyizibwa gye abuli ffenna okulaba nti bwe tuba turunning or we are facilitating businesses, we put them in the right order, on the right aspect. Kuba oyinza obba ogamba nti kale business eyiyo yakukolera ku kabalaza but then waliwo gwe officer business ali mu arcade mundaawo ng'ate yasasula akakadde oba n'okusobya okulaba nga yeebeezaawo ate gwe nojja no carrying out the same business with him or her wabweru wakabalaza. Obviously omuntu tagenda ayingira munda ogenda fees oli akatale. So in this way, as we are trying to earn a living, we need to also favor others in regards to the fact that the situation eno fenne tukosa ng'abantu ako kange. That is my own opinion, and everyone has his own opinion in that regard, but what I do know, opinions are never debatable kuba ndowooza ya muntu tosobola kuchallenging ndowooza ya muntu kuba ndowooza ekyaba alowooza mu kaseera ako. My name is Joram Paul Sonko. Twitter @Joram Paul Sonko, Facebook @Joram Paul Sonko, Instagram @Joram Paul Sonko. The hashtag on Twitter is JP Live. If at all you want to send in your tweets in regards to all the business stories that we have on Smart 24 TV. Twitter, Facebook and Instagram @Smart24 TV. If you want to follow us and give us your feedback in regards to the business stories in your different areas in that particular regard as well. On YouTube @Smart24 TV, Smart24 TV Live. If you want to stream in wherever you are across the globe, that is at Smart24 TV, where we definitely drive your business. This is Smart Means Business, and it's a